There is more love somewhere. 'Let the sound fill the room. Greet the people coming in with the beauty of your voice. There is more love somewhere. There is more love I'm gonna need till I find it, till I find it. There is more love. There is more love. I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep till I find it. Till I find it. There is more love. One more time. I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep till I find it. Till I find it. There is more love somewhere. Oh, we just got warmed up. We didn't even do that. Let's keep going. The song says, you gotta keep your heart wide open. Though the waves wanna push you around, You got to keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. Help me teach it if you know it. You got to keep your heart wide open, though the waves want to push you around. You got to keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. Whoa! Sing it with me, everybody. You gotta keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. Gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. All right. All right, it's all right. It's all right. I don't believe you hear the words in the admonishment quite yet. So let me tell them to you again. The writer says, you gotta keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. If the waves have ever tried to push you around, get in that zone and find your sure footing, and let's sing from that place. All right? Here we go. Here come the waves. Here it 1, 2. You gotta keep your heart wide open. Though the waves wanna push you around. Oh, you gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. One more time. You gotta keep your heart open. Keep your heart open. Keep your heart open. Keep your heart open. Wanna push you around. Yes, you do. You gotta keep your heart. You gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. There's one more part. Keep your heart open. 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 Where's the tune? Come on back. Come on back. You gotta keep your heart wide open. Go the way. Keep your heart open. Keep your heart open. Keep your Singing is not just about making a pretty noise out of your own throat. You have to install those songs, install the melodies. You have to seat them deep into your spirit, into your soul, so that when you need them, they are well placed. So that when the waves are trying to push you around, you have a song just for that moment. Oh, some of y'all ain't hearing me. I'm trying to help you out.
Hello, y'all. My name is Reverend Kaya Hartwood. I have the pleasure of being married to Meg Barnhouse. She retired last year, but she was not well enough to come to GA. And so all we're gonna do is sing her the chorus of her song, All Will Be Well. Do you all know it? Okay. The words are, all will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of things will be well. You ready? All will be well, and all will be well, all manner of things will be well. Got it? All will be well, and all will be well, all manner of things will be well. Thank you all very much.
Let's sing one more song as we deepen our presence in the room. As we turn the conventional space into a sanctuary, I welcome you. I welcome you to sing the song. Goes like this. Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean we can. We can do it at home too, right? Call me when you need a friend. I'm right up the road. Call me. Call me. Couple more times. Call me. Call me. Here we go. Call me. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. With him somewhere. There is more love. There is more somewhere. Somewhere. I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep till I find it. There is more love somewhere. And there somewhere. There is more hope somewhere.
Hello, hello. Are you ready for your... I guess it's...
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Karen Bush. I'm a member of the, thank you, Jay. I'm the member of the Board of Trustees here. I chair the auction, and I'm co-chair of the stewardship campaign. But what I'm proud of is being a member of this wonderful congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Sarasota. On behalf of all the members and friends of this congregation, we welcome those of you who are visitors, whether you are online or here in person. We hope that you will join all of the activities that are of interest to you. You're welcome to attend them. And in fact, we make it easy for you to know what's going on. If you are online, you can go to our webpage, the homepage, uucsarasota.com. And you can see where there's a link under the blue banner of welcome visitors. Click on that link and you can sign up. When you do, you'll get a newsletter, and you will also get information about links to all of the online events. If you're here in person, there's a table right outside that door where you can physically, personally sign up for exactly the same information. We hope you will do so that you can learn more information about this church, but also more information about Unitarian Universalism. We look forward getting to know you, and we hope you'll stay for coffee and conversation today. We have a number of things going on after the service. We will have a potluck in lieu of just coffee and conversation. Please come, whether you brought something for that potluck or didn't. You are welcome to attend and gobble up as much as you can. While you are attending and gobbling up your potluck, we ask you to be thinking about something that's going to be coming up. Most of you probably at this stage of the game know that we're considering a change in the name of our organization, our church. We ask you during the potluck to be thinking about how you feel about that. Sounds like a therapy session, but how do you feel about changing the name of the church? And there are some cards out there for you to write down. You might want to exchange ideas with other people while you're enjoying potluck, but write down on a card how you feel about changing the name of the church and any other thoughts you have regarding that topic. And then there's a box where you can deposit the card outside. And after the potluck, at 12:30, if you can, we ask you to stay and come to the read room where you can share those thoughts and hear other people's views as the leaders of our church listen to your input. Thank you.
And now we are blessed with beautiful music this morning. Our opening song, This Is America, by Keven Alland and John McLaughlin.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm Reverend J. Wolin, and let me just say what a joy it is to be back in the pulpit with all of you here today. Thank you. Thank you. I do so appreciate the time off that you provide me, as it gives me time to regenerate my energy and my spirit for the upcoming year. One other note as I'm returning, a note, this will actually be the last day for Zach, our Sunday custodian, a tall young man with like curly black hair. He'll be heading off to college this week, so if you get a chance, please wish him well. Our opening words today are from our new Unitarian Universalist Association President, Sofia Betancourt, which she spoke at General Assembly this past June. As I have been talking with Unitarian Universalists, I am feeling this joy and this desire to invest in who we are as Unitarian Universalists. We are talking about rightly how tired and how hard things have been. But as I have asked Unitarian Universalists what their longing is for the future, what I hear, what I keep hearing is joy, this pride in who we are as a community, this desire and longing to express our UU values in the world. End quote. As we light our chalice, let its light be a symbol to light our way into the depths of our being, to see what we are becoming, and then to guide us to the wider world, to share who we are with others. So as we're lighting, please repeat the words with me, affirming an Article 2 proposed value. As we light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, we affirm our value of transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian Universalist heritage. Never complete and never perfect. And now, Catherine Bonner.
Good morning. So nice to see all of you here. So, today's story is The Creature of Habit by Jennifer E. Smith and illustrated by Leo Espinoza. So, on the big island of Habit, there lived a creature, and he had very big teeth and very big eyes and very, very big feet. I think he's a relative. Every day, the creature did the exact same things in the exact same order. First, he ate 3 pineapples and 2 bananas. And then he walked down to the water to say hello to the fish. Hello, fish. And after that, he went to look for shells, but he only kept the best ones. And next, he said hello to the trees, hello, trees, and the rocks, hello, rocks, and the crab who lived under the rocks, hello, crab. And when it was time for dinner, he ate 3 more pineapples and 2 more bananas. Then he brushed his teeth, and he went to bed, and every day was exactly the same, which was just how the creature liked it. But then one morning, he spotted a boat. It was a very small boat, and it was carrying a very small creature who had very small teeth and very small eyes and very, very small feet. He was excited. Nobody had ever visited the island before, and the very big creature could not wait to show his new friend how everything worked. He taught him how to collect pineapples and bananas and how to say hello to the fish. Hello, fish. He showed him how to find all the very best shells and when to eat his dinner and to brush his teeth and to go to bed. So the next morning, the very big creature woke up, and he was all excited to do it all over again, just like he did every day. but the very small creature was nowhere to be found. And when the small creature finally appeared, he too was excited to start the day. But instead of eating 3 pineapples and 2 bananas, he ate a single coconut. And instead of saying hello to the fish, he went for a swim with them. And instead of collecting shells, he collected pretty much everything else. And when it got dark, the very small creature did not eat dinner or brush his teeth or go to bed. He sat on the beach and looked at the stars. Watching him, the very big creature's very big eye began to twitch. This wasn't how things were done on the island of habit. There was supposed to be a schedule, a routine, an order to things. Otherwise, anything could happen. So for the next week, the very big creature kept an eye on the very small creature. Some days, the very small creature made sandcastles after breakfast, and some days he stood on his head before dinner. Some days he slept in, and some days he stayed up late, and some days he did nothing at all. It was absolute madness! Then, one morning, as the very big creature was eating his breakfast, the very small creature offered him an orange. Well, the very big creature looked at it carefully. It was smaller than a pineapple and rounder than a banana. It was something he had never tried before. And it was pretty good, but not as good as a pineapple. So afterward, he noticed that the very small creature said hello to the clouds. Now, the very big creature had said hello to a lot of things, like the trees and the rocks and the crab who lived under the rocks, but never the clouds. He thought about giving it a try, but he didn't want to miss his appointment with the fish. Later, this very small creature found some treasures on the beach, and even though he was meant to be looking for shells, the very big creature was secretly happy when he found a treasure too. The day was almost done, and it was time to eat dinner and brush their teeth and go to bed, but the very small creature had other plans. So the very big creature watched him go, thinking about all the unusual things that had happened that day. The orange, the clouds, and the treasures on the beach. And the very big creature sat down. And then he stood back up again, and his very big heart started beating very, very fast. And finally, he decided to follow the very small creature. The very big creature had never been out at this hour before. Everything looked different. The sky was full of color, and the sun, as round as an orange, was disappearing into the water. He knew this wasn't where he was supposed to be right now. But as the world turned from pink to orange to purple all around him, he wondered if maybe it actually was where he was supposed to be. Later, they would eat dinner and brush their teeth and go to bed, and tomorrow it would be time to stick to the schedule if they wanted to. After all, anything could happen, but for now, the sky was beginning to perform yet another magic trick. Together, they sat and watched it change. Hello, stars. Hello, stars. So I bring you this story today because our faith, like the big creature, is at a crossroad trying to figure out whether to stick to the things and the routines we know, or are we willing to include other cultural and spiritual practices into our own? It doesn't mean we have to change everything. The big creature still preferred pineapples to oranges, but he was willing to give it a try. Which for me is the essence of what Unitarian Universalism is. The willingness to be open to new ideas and new ways of looking at things, to create a space where all of us can be comfortable and comforted, even if we don't all think or act the same. And I am excited to be on this journey of spiritual growth and possibilities with all of you. So thank you. I now invite our younger UUs to join me in the West Wing to learn more about the principles of our faith. Thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2,
And now I'd like to invite up Bill Payton, president of the board, and Vicki Evans, who's and our new members, as we do our new member ceremony. So we invite the new members to come up so everybody can see who has joined in the last few months. Yep, you can. Yep. The choreographed dance will come later, don't worry. Yeah, you do.
Now is the time during our service when we honor the newest members and their decision to join our congregation. We encourage all of you to share with us your thoughts and experiences, as well as your dreams about life and our lives together.
It is a joy to welcome all of you, each as a member, into our larger community. Becoming a member of this church is an important step, but it is only the first step. I encourage you to grow your religious life and to explore your unique gifts. Will you journey together with us, sharing the joys and responsibilities of membership? If you agree, please say yes.
Yes.
Dear fellow members, will you reach out to these people in friendship, including them in all of our activities? Will you walk with them on their religious journey? Will you be open to their unique gifts and perspectives? Will you extend a warm welcome to each of them, remembering that each of you were once a new member?
Okay, and now this is your part, congregation, and go.
Yes.
And commitments with yours. You are part of us, and we are. Ours is a shared ministry to help each other find meaning in life and to build a just and compassionate life and world, working to fulfill the mission of this church. So let us all give our new members a round of applause. And that's it. That's it. The party will be after the service. You have to wait till after the service. Although I would consider the service a party in and of itself, honestly. So today's service is entitled Faithfully Becoming. And that was the theme of the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly, better known by its acronym GA, this past June. GA is the annual gathering of Unitarian Universalist congregations to conduct the business of the Association of Congregations of which we belong. So approximately a dozen, I didn't count them up, but it was about a dozen of our members and staff attended either in person or virtually. One member, Regina Powell, actually sang in the choir. She sings almost every year in the choir. I know it's a great joy for her to do that. And I think Faithfully Becoming is a poignant title for a day of a new member ceremony. Although I didn't plan it that way, but sometimes the world aligns like that. It's a reminder that we are always becoming something new as a congregation. With every new interaction that we have, with every new piece of knowledge that we obtain, with every deepened relationship that we create, we are changed. Or I should say, we have the ability to be changed by them if we are open to them. Now, Unitarian Universalism is not a rigid religion. We have no creed. We believe revelation is ongoing. So let each individual here, both long tenured and new, be open to the possibility of change that will happen as each new member joins us. Let us all grow in wisdom and understanding from our interactions. And because we have new members, right, that's where these new interactions can come from. We are not the same congregation we were just yesterday or 70-some-odd years ago when we were founded, let alone 1 year ago when I started. 1 year ago when I arrived, we had 2 children in religious education. And the board of this church and this congregation had and has a vision to become a multi-generational congregation. And they put resources into that vision. And almost every week now, we have at least 10 or more children in religious education. Not always the same children, but that is the reality of life today, particularly with the way families are formed differently and and custodial issues. And we are constantly and consistently growing. I was so heartened to hear that last week after Catherine asked for volunteers to teach children's ROE, we had 10 people sign up to be teachers. Yes, yes. We are becoming what we dream to be because of you. It only happens because you want it to happen, because you support families and children. You support programs that support families and children. When I arrived, we had an active social justice committee, and we had a racial justice coordinating team. Over the last year, we've added a green team, and we've added a reproductive justice action team. We are becoming more active in living out the vision of the church to become more inclusive in this church and to become more active in the community, both in inward contemplation and an outward action. And as the political climate, and I would just say the climate in general, intensifies, it's true, people need to know. People need to know that there is a place where they can imagine a new, a better way to be in community together. Now, as a church, we have a lot going on this year. We're exploring the 8th principle, a name change, potential new mission and vision for the church to better understand who and what we are becoming. The Unitarian Universalist Association as well is going through this same process of reflecting on who we are becoming as an association. And I want to say that I do not expect everyone to agree with every change that occurs, sort of like the bird, right? He liked whatever, didn't really like oranges, but he tried them, he ate them, they were okay, right? This is where the faithfulness part comes in, of faithfully becoming, right? That we have faith in each other, even if we do not agree, and faith that we can be our best selves. And when we fail at being our best selves, which always happens to all of us at some point, when we fail, we have faith that we will have the opportunity for reconciliation. I want to remind you of the words attributed to 16th century Unitarian minister Francis David, where he said, "We do not need to think alike to love alike," end quote. I just want to point out one lived example of this at the last congregation I served. An old, very long-standing member who I had a great relationship with. After a service which was focused on Buddhism, on the way out of the service, he says to me, "Jay, this service just wasn't for me." And, normally my pastoral self might say something like, "Well, I'm sorry it wasn't meaningful for you." But since I had a great relationship with this person, I replied, "They're not all for you." Sometimes they're for other people also. And he stopped and stared at me for what seemed like an eternity. It was probably actually about 5 seconds. And then he just sort of nodded his head in recognition, like, "Oh, yeah, right." It is in that recognition that not every song, not every particular sermon, not every program is going to be for every single or any particular one of us. We may have similar values, but we each have different personal preferences and are moved by and find meaning in different elements and programs. To me, that is what is beautiful about Unitarian Universalism. So I ask you to remember that although any particular thing might not be for you, you are here for everyone who is here, supporting each other on all of your journeys together. I need you to have faith that whatever happens here and in Unitarian Universalism writ large is helping someone on their journey to wholeness. Now, there is one journey that we all have the opportunity to join in together, which is the collection that we take each week to support the church, which allows for the support of all the programs and different things that happen together here. So please be as generous as you can for those online or with your cell phones. There's a link to donate in the description of the YouTube channel. There is a QR code in the order of service, and for those of you who aren't aware what that is, you can take a picture of it with your cell phone, and it'll bring you to our to donate safely online to the church. Thank you for all that you do. Let this sacred time begin. So I had planned something else for the centering in words, but I thought, considering we were having a Hawaiian luau today, that we should take note of what is actually happening in Hawaii, in Maui particularly, with all the devastating fires and so forth. I saw a message from the minister serving in Hawaii, Reverend Gregory Boyd, and he says money is needed. If you wish to donate, you can send a check to our office and we'll forward it, or donate online under Share the Plate on our online donation. All donations will be made to the Hawaii Community Foundation, Maui Strong, which was recommended by the minister who is serving in Hawaii. And I'd like to share today now a prayer from the Reverend Kirsten Hamlet. Our hearts are broken by the news of the devastating fires in Hawaii and the ways that human-driven climate change and extractive capitalism have literally fueled and multiplied the deadly impact of this disaster. We send prayers for recovery and healing of these people and this place, and recommit ourselves to the protection and the renewal of the whole of Mother Earth and her peoples. As we take a moment of silence, let us contemplate what we can do to help heal this earth. Our next reading is from Unitarian Frances Ellen Watkins Harper from her speech to the 11th National Women's Rights Convention in 1866. We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse in its own soul. You pressed African Americans down for 2 centuries, and in so doing you crippled the moral strength and paralyzed the spiritual energies of the white people of this country. When the hands of the black are fettered, white men were deprived of the liberty of speech and the freedom of the press. Society cannot afford to neglect the enlightenment of any class of its members. At the South, the legislation of the country was in behalf of the rich slaveholders, while the poor white man was neglected. What is the consequence today? From the very class of neglected poor white men comes the man who stands today and throws himself, the incarnation of meanness, across the pathway of this nation. End quote. This was over 150 years ago today. Today we are still dealing with this same incarnation of meanness that has continued to be transmitted generation after generation. It is time to break that cycle. And now, once more, our special music.
Three.
So at General Assembly this year, over 86% of the delegates who voted approved another year of discussion of the proposed changes to Article 2 in the Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws. Article 2 currently includes our principles, sources, purposes, and statements of inclusion and freedom of belief. The new proposal would remove the principles from the bylaws and include these 6 values with statements: equity, generosity, interdependence, justice, pluralism, and transformation. And love is at the center of each of these shared values. Now, despite the overwhelming vote to continue discussion for another year, before it comes for a final vote at the next General Assembly, there were passionate, and I mean passionate, pro and con discussions at the General Assembly on this issue. People feel very strongly about things. And as part of sharing and listening, we learn from each other that way. And there were some amendments passed. I'll be talking about those. And, you know, whether you like the proposed changes or not, if nothing else, I would say the questions raised due to these proposed changes have led to deep theological discussions about who we are and what we hope to be as a religion, and whether it eventually passes or not. Just having these discussions help us better understand ourselves, our theology, and our religious identity. So throughout the year, I will be leading services, probably about once a month, about each of these values, and provide other opportunities for learning and discussion. So everyone will have an opportunity to share their thoughts on these issues as we've continued with these congregational conversations. As you can imagine, I will probably have the discussion on the value of generosity when we start our pledge campaign in January. Now, although the meetings at General Assembly, they are actually more exciting than maybe they sound, do take up a good amount of time. There are also classes and lectures and really exceptional worship. I always encourage people, if you have the opportunity to go to General Assembly, to do so. I always find it an inspiring experience and reminds us that we are part of something much larger than just this congregation. Now, one of the highlights for me at General Assembly every year is the Ware Lecture. Since its inception in 1922, I think with one break for World War II 1 year, the Ware Lectures include very famous and some not so famous theologians, academics, and artists. This year the Ware Lecture was Imani Perry, a professor of African American Studies at Princeton University, someone who I was not familiar with before. And I'll be honest, I like that. I get to hear new voices that I don't always necessarily have heard. Anyway, growing up, Perry said she lived for a number of years in Concord, Mass. Although she wasn't a Unitarian, you could not help but be inundated with Unitarian things in Concord, Massachusetts. And at one point, did I hear a woo there from somebody? All right. At one point, Perry visited Walden Pond, and she indicated, I'm not very impressed. It's a pond, right? Yeah. But after she stayed a while, though, she said, and I quote, "I saw what the light could do on the water," end quote. This waiting for the light to be just right taught her patience and attentiveness. And I think that's important to understand what we pay attention to in the history of this country. And she points, that's where the next part of her lecture went to. And I think we can be intentional about what we pay attention to. In some cases, like Florida's American History Standards, which have been in the news lately about slavery, there is an intentional obfuscation of the facts, right? Most obviously that Africans had skills prior to being kidnapped and enslaved in this country, right? It's an erasure of their history, right? In addition to the intentional, though, it is also easy to be unintentionally, to miss important parts of our history based on who is writing the history. And especially, I think about all our streaming channels and multiple newsletters. I have apps for like 6 newspapers now. We really have to be intentional about wanting to have a broad perspective of history. Now, after visiting Walden Pond, Perry mentioned that she went back to reread Henry David Thoreau's book, Walden, and within there is a chapter entitled Former Inhabitants and Recent Visitors. And this chapter tells the story of a slave and 2 former slaves that previously lived in Walden Woods. And research tells us actually there were 15 or so former slaves that lived in those woods. These were people who were forced to live there. Well, he may have gone intentionally there. These people were forced to live there because the land was not suitable for farming, so no one else wanted to live there. Some of them eked out a living in a harsh environment, fishing, farming, whatever they could. Others did services for townspeople and then retreated to the woods after they made their deliveries. Whereas Thoreau had the option to go into town to get a meal, which they don't talk about, but he did that. These other people did not have that option. And although we know of them because of Thoreau and his intentionally going to live in the margins of society, we do not have their words, their stories. Their history is told from someone with privilege. So who is telling a story impacts how we understand history. Even when we have historical writings from African American, even Unitarians, we tend not to give them priority. Perry speaks of Unitarian Francis Ellen Watkins Harper, who I quoted earlier. Harper was a prolific writer and social justice advocate at the same time of Thoreau and Emerson. We tend to raise up both of them and often have not heard or known too much about Harper. Both Emerson and Thoreau left their Unitarian churches. They had the luxury to do that. Harper stayed, even if on the fringes of the religion, even when it was hard, because she saw the Unitarian church as a way to end oppression. And she did not have the option to just walk away. She wrote about the violence of the life for African Americans during that time, whereas Emerson and Thoreau wrote in very theoretical, romantic prose about, even including about ending slavery. They were very large supporters of abolition. But if you've ever tried to read Emerson, it's woo. You got to keep a dictionary next to you sometime. What does he mean by that? What does he mean by that? It's, but they were addressing different audiences in a different time. But who gets to tell the story of history shapes how we understand history. Who we are in relationship with, both in and outside the church, shapes our understanding history and therefore our present. As William Faulkner wrote, the past is never dead. It is not even past. So Perry pointed out that the various laws, I thought it was really interesting, against teaching critical race theory, focus on not wanting white children to feel guilty about our history. And I have read the law, and it does say that. And Perry says, and I quote, and I think it's fascinating, what a terrible way to think about white children, to squash their moral imaginations, to not imagine that they might find inspiration and connection to the oppressed as opposed to the oppressor, end quote. So our goal is to build up the muscle of empathy, to value the stories of the oppressed, to be in relationship to those on the margins and hear their stories, to open our minds to new truths and new understanding of how we are where we are in society today, and why we must not falter in our determination to bring about a better society. So I'll leave you with one last quote from Perry's Ware lecture. I quote, "What do we do when we know about injustice? What do we do when we learn and experience about the attacks on our children due to their identity, the attacks on bodily autonomy, the attacks on efforts to address injustice, the attacks on the right to vote, the attacks to speak one's mind in the service of those who are subject to these attacks? This moment requires an extraordinary amount of courage and humility in the face of people who oppose knowledge and human dignity, people who seek to use law and violence to make us cower. And so we have to sustain courage, courage to read books, courage to face down the bullies, courage to do our level best to break the unjust laws or refuse them or be disobedient to them." End quote. And we do this because our values, our religion calls us to answer the call of love. And so now I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our closing hymn, Answering the Call of Love. Our closing words are from the outgoing President Susan Frederick Gray. This is no time to go it alone. We belong to each other. We need each other, and we make each other strong and brave. May we continue to nurture resiliency and joy in our spirits and in our communities. May it give us courage and clarity to be more effective in protecting our loved ones, our communities, our neighbors, this planet, our democracy. May we continue to grow our souls, ourselves, faithfully becoming beloved community. May it be so. Please join me in extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for your presence here today. Enjoy the potluck and discussions.